This fourth and final video is going to address both the fourth and the fifth stage of Tuckman's theory. The fourth phase is your performing phase, and generally this would be maybe up to a 3-month-long phase, February, March, and April. This is really when you as an advisor begin to step back and you really start to see growth within the organization. You start to see that the students are performing at their duties and the organization is seeing success. For his house, you'd start to see success and growth within both the large group and the small group. As an advisor, it's starting to ask the questions of the exec board members of what worked this year, what could we improve on for following years, and really still driving home to them the idea that they still have tasks to do during this time. They are doing a great job. They are doing a wonderful job at growing the group and seeing success in the group, but it can be easy to, in a little bit of a way, become complacent during the performing stage because you're seeing continued success and growth, and yet you think that you can kind of back off of your duties because of that. Yet the truth is you need to continue to excel in those duties and continue to see that growth. For the advisor, it's really the time to kind of take the step back and let the exec board begin to see the performing and the way it is going. The fifth and final phase is the adjourning phase, and this is a big phase, especially with larger organizations. For an example, for His House Christian Fellowship, you may have students that have been a part of this organization for 4 or 5 or sometimes maybe even 6 years. And the adjourning phase for a lot of them is very hard to take. Each individual is going to act completely different through this phase. Different students are going to handle kind of losing that part of their life differently than other students. And so the adjourning phase is really a time for you as an advisor to be there for individual students that really need the extra help with coping with the differences and coping with the change. Your exec board is also going to be going through transition at this time. Generally, this is around May that His House Christian Fellowship would be going through this phase. And generally, for His House Christian Fellowship, you would have some kind of large-scale retreat to really bring a close or an end to what you accomplished throughout that past year. So you may have a large-scale retreat where you invite all the members that you can possibly get that will be able to leave campus to come together and kind of celebrate what has happened this year, celebrate what the exec board has been able to do, and also begin to introduce to the members that will be returning the new exec board and the new leadership. Your exec board, both the old and the new, may begin to meet together on a regular basis to begin to assess and evaluate the success and the failures within the different areas that you grew or different activities that you had throughout the year. So as an advisor, this is a really important phase. This was an added-on addition to Tuckman's model, and I think it's really important to understand that this is a phase, and you're going to go through this transition of having new students come in, and the old students also are going to transition out. And for many students, it's hard for them to transition out when all they have known is this organization. They become very tied to this organization. You may have members in your organization that have a hard time leaving and still want to be involved. And so how are you as an advisor going to handle that? How are you going to address that to the exec board so they can deal with those issues? As you go throughout these issues and study these as an advisor, it's really important to understand them yourself, but really important to also make sure that your exec board and the members of your organization also understand that this is part of it. This is a phase, and there are all these different phases that students will go through throughout this yearly process. This was about a 10-month phase that I came together for His House Christian Fellowship, and it's never going to be 100% accurate. It's never going to be. You may have storming that happens in month 8, and you thought most of the storming was done with, and so there may be times that you have to work back in those phases and kind of work out of those phases and into new phases. As an advisor, it's important to understand your role, and your role can vary depending on the organization. So it's really important to understand your role right from the beginning. And so within your organization, whether it's a fraternity or sorority or Greek organization or a government-related organization that you're an advisor for, or a political or religious group that you're the advisor for. It's important to make sure that you clearly understand your role, so the students will also understand what your role is within the organization. Without having those guidelines there, it can become very skewed as to where should I step in as an advisor, or where should this be the students handling the issues. As an advisor, it's really important to understand the policies related to the university, to understand if you're looking over an organization that may be having events that are going to bring into jeopardy different policies the university has. You have to know those policies as an advisor. So doing your research, knowing the organization, is only going to help you as an advisor, and being open and honest with the students, coming across to them, being involved as well is really important. Do you want me to be involved in all of your meetings that you have as an organization, or would you like me to come once a month? If there's issues that arise, how are you going to contact me to make sure that I'm there to help, with those issues? So being that middle mediator is a big part of the advisor's role.